Hi. Are you looking forward to a prosperous new year? A 2020 filled with even more riches and enjoyment in your work? Well, guess what? Thousands of California freelance writers can't do that, thanks to a new statute that goes into effect in January that will regulate, i.e., push them right out of their jobs. And wait until you hear the hubristic comments of the woman in the California Assembly who is the prime writer of this new code. Hi everyone, I'm Gardner Goldsmith for MRC-TV. And you know, one of the prime things that I try to instruct my students in economics is that all valuation is subjective. Hence, in order to allow resources to get allocated to where people want them, we have to allow our neighbors the freedom to decide what they value, to pay what they want or hold back their money and choose something else. That allows the price system to work and resources are allocated according to that. It also allows competition to drive down prices. It's a very important thing. Likewise, in ethics, I try to instruct my students that the golden rule is very important. It's also known as the non-aggression principle, which includes both the golden rule and its variation. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you, and don't do unto others as you would not have them do unto you. Essentially, if you take both of those principles and render them down, you can just state, don't be a jerk. Well, evidently, numerous politicians in the California Assembly seem to think that once they're elected, they can simply disregard these principles and tell other people how to live and work. Thus, we see the looming implementation of the new statute called AB 5, which, because these said same politicians want to force business owners to hand out health insurance to more people, will mandate that any freelance writers creating 35 pieces or more per year for one employer must be categorized by the employer as full-time employees. Voila! More health insurance. Or, if you're actually in the real world, voila! Fewer freelance writing jobs. Fewer freelance writers working in California, which is exactly where things are heading, as Billy Binion reports for Reason. A nonprofit legal foundation is suing California on behalf of freelance writers who say the state's recently passed Assembly Bill 5 will destroy their livelihoods. What's in the offing for many freelancers? The bill's pending implementation has wreaked havoc on publications that rely heavily on California's freelancers. Just last week, Vox Media announced it will not be renewing the contracts of around 200 journalists who write for the sports website SB Nation. Instead, the company will replace many of those contractors with 20 part-time and full-time employees. Rev, which provides transcription services, and Scripted, which connects freelance copywriters with people who need their services, also notified their California contractors that they would no longer give them work. And as Alicia Grauso, a writer and co-founder of the group California Freelance Writers United, says, companies can simply blacklist California writers and work with writers in other states, and that's exactly what's happening. I don't blame them. Absolutely stunning. But with all the charm of the Grinch up on Mount Crumpet, the mastermind behind AB 5, an assemblywoman named Lorena Gonzalez, a Democrat from San Diego, tweeted something back to those people who might possibly think that her decision to control their lives is in any way offensive. I'm sure some legit freelancers lost substantial income, and I empathize with that, especially this time of year, but Vox is a vulture. What a sweetie. Apart from the fact that she appears to need an editor to teach her the proper use of commas and the difference between empathize and sympathize, Ms. Gonzalez shows such contempt for a business that she seems to have no problem telling its owners and potential employees how to do their work. You know how that goes. It happens all the time, right? You waltz into some shop, you find it not to your liking, and then you threaten the owner with fines, total shutdown, and a trip to jail at the hands of armed agents of the state if they don't comply. Yeah, we all know it's totally the golden rule, right? Well, in case anyone were confused, Binion notes this precious gem from Gonzalez. These were never good jobs, Gonzalez said earlier this month. No one has ever suggested that, even freelancers. If you're shaking your head, you are not alone. I've been able to earn nearly 3 times the amount I did working a day job, doing what I absolutely love and having more to volunteer and spend time with loved ones, wrote Jackie Lamb, a financial journalist. And for those who are all hopped up on gender sensitivity, Grosso notes that this California statute will really harm women, who comprise 72.3% of her organization and who find particular advantages in freelance writing. Freelancing allows women to be stay-at-home mothers or to care for an aging parent, Grosso notes. Being made employees kills their flexibility and ability to be home when needed. I cannot stress enough how anti-women this bill is. Yet this bill, passed in supposedly progressive California's glorious assembly, will be enforceable statute unless the CAFWU can spend enough time and money in the court appealing to politically appointed judges to emerge victorious. Now, the suit brought by the Pacific Legal Foundation on behalf of CAFWU's members says in part this, according to Binion and Reason. By enforcing the 35 submission limit, defendant, acting under color of state law, unconstitutionally deprives plaintiffs' members of their freedom of speech as protected by the First and 14th Amendments to the U.S. Constitution. Which is correct, but AB 5 does a heck of a lot more than that. AB 5 stands as a complete abrogation of what is called the Contract Clause of the Constitution. And that can be found in Article 1, Section 10, Clause 1 of the Constitution. And it reads, hey, do whatever the heck you want, politicians. No, actually, it doesn't read that at all. It says, no state shall pass any law impairing the obligation of contracts. This applies to freelancers who have contracts of any kind, including verbal agreements, and it applies to wages. If the contract clause were actually respected, not only would AB 5 be out the window, but most minimum wage laws that apply to standing employees would also be unconstitutional, as they should be, and new safety mandates would be gone, and all sorts of licensing statutes would also be out the window. Indeed, if the politicians were to abide a little bit more by respecting the contract clause, they might be closer to actually acting according to the golden rule. At least we can try to nudge them a little bit closer, even as we avoid some of the swear-peppered nonsense that woman Gonzalez added to her tweet pushing for her bill. Indeed, we don't have to talk about that sort of stuff, and we don't even have to talk about the fact that Massachusetts Senator and extremely authentic politician Elizabeth Warren is in full support of this Assemblywoman's big push to control people's lives. How charming.
What's happening to opportunity in this country?
Yeah, as the Beach Boys said, wouldn't it be nice? Wouldn't it be nice if we didn't have to deal with these people who thought that because they got elected, they could tell everybody else how to live? Wouldn't it be nice if people actually abided by the golden rule? California dreamin' indeed. We can continue to dream and hope that maybe in 2020 we can see more proper behavior from politicians and less of this type of stuff. Less of these people like Gonzalez and Liz Warren who seem to hold the golden rule in utter, absolute contempt. Thanks so much for joining me, everyone. Get geared up for 2020. Keep joining us here. And don't forget, yes, I know, you can barely see it. Here it is. It is the best, the coolest, the most amazing shirt from MRC-Store. Just find that online, MRC-Store, and you'll find this shirt in Search of Real News and many, many others at the website. Thanks so much for being part of this. Spread the word, tell your friends, share the videos, and I'll see you next time. For MRC TV, I'm Gardner Goldsmith.